If you think this is just another dull government policy clash, think again, because what just erupted between Ottawa and Silicon Valley could reshape the future of the internet itself. This is not a routine trade disagreement. This is not another boring regulation update hidden in government paperwork. What just unfolded is being described by insiders as a massive digital power shift, the kind of move that has some of the largest and richest technology empires on Earth scrambling behind closed doors. And for years, really for decades, American tech giants treated Canada like an extension of their own digital backyard. They expanded aggressively. They harvested user data. They dominated advertising markets. They built critical cloud infrastructure. And quietly, behind the scenes, they extracted billions upon billions in digital wealth while giving relatively little back in return. But almost overnight, that entire model has been turned upside down. At the center of this digital earthquake is Opering Ni Changs, She's Mark Carney, who has just unleashed what may become one of the boldest economic and technological sovereignty moves ever attempted by a Western democracy. And the response? Total chaos in Silicon Valley. Now, the executives are reportedly rushing into emergency boardroom meetings. Lobbyists are flooding Washington with panic calls. And Donald Trump is already firing back with rhetoric so aggressive that some analysts are openly calling it economic warfare in the digital age. He's calling Canada's move reckless, dangerous, anti-business, even comparing it to authoritarian control models. But here's the part that makes this story truly explosive. This was never impulsive. This was never emotional. And it certainly did not happen overnight. This was calculated, strategic, and months in the making. And once you understand what triggered it, you'll realize why this could become the blueprint for a new global internet order. Just days earlier, Trump signed a sweeping executive order demanding that allied nations give American tech companies unrestricted access to their digital markets or face severe consequences. The punishment? A crushing funstoifenchin, a freychims, a craychims, 30% tariff on digital exports entering the United States. The message was crystal clear. Open your digital borders completely, or America closes its market to you. Inside Washington, the expectation seemed simple. Canada would fold fast. Officials reportedly believed Ottawa would rush to negotiate within hours, offering concessions just to avoid a conflict with Washington and Silicon Valley. But that's not what happened. Instead, Mark Carney made a move nobody saw coming. Rather than panic, he quietly assembled a tight inner circle of elite economic minds, not headline-chasing politicians, but economists, financial strategists, risk experts, and former central bankers who understand how systemic pressure reshapes global markets. They met behind closed doors for hours. And when Carney finally emerged, he didn't look cornered. He looked like a man who had just finalized a plan capable of shaking the global digital economy at its core. Then came the announcement, a sweeping legislative package now being called the Canadian Digital Sovereignty Act. And the details sent Hansi Enchin Sumai Nanchior Anji Anchi Anki Antior and instant shockwaves through big tech. Shu Enshu Anchu Ansi Anti. The first bombshell. Any foreign technology company generating more than $500 million in Canada must now store all Canadian user data inside Canada. And superstars and use or yours. But here's the twist that stunned the market. not merely local storage. The data must be held in facilities fully owned and controlled by Canadian entities. Not leased, not outsourced, not controlled through foreign subsidiaries. Fully Canadian infrastructure. The second measure hit just as hard. I punstri empty and such Redine such Naversti and new 12% digital services tax on all advertising revenue earned from Canadian users by foreign platforms. That means every single dollar generated from Canadian traffic on platforms like Google, Meta, Amazon, TikTok, and others now faces immediate source taxation. No loopholes. No grace period. No delayed rollout. Immediate impact. But the third measure is what truly triggered panic across Silicon Valley. Any artificial intelligence model trained using Canadian data must now be registered, licensed, and subject to federal oversight. So what are you fee conchis fire you seeing? And here's the truly shocking part. The rule applies retroactively. If an AI company used Canadian origin data in the past, it may now owe massive licensing fees for data already extracted and monetized. That's when markets started moving fast. This wasn't emotional panic. This was capital repricing risk in real time. Alphabet dropped sharply. Meta slid. Amazon's cloud business took an immediate hit. Meanwhile, Canadian tech stocks began climbing. Money wasn't fleeing Canada, it was repositioning toward its sea. And that's when the bigger truth became obvious. This is no longer a dispute between two governments. This is the beginning of a structural transformation in the global digital economy. Because what Carney just introduced is far bigger than regulation. It is leverage. It redefines the fundamental questions of the digital age. Who owns the data? Who profits from it? Who controls the infrastructure? And who writes the rules? For years, Silicon Valley operated on one central assumption. That data moves freely across borders, that the internet exists above national boundaries. That regulation always trails innovation. But with one sweeping move, Canada has challenged all three assumptions at once. And the deeper analysts look into this strategy, the clearer it becomes. This was not defensive. This was offensive, strategic, and precision designed to reshape the system itself. And because what's unfolding right now is not simply about Canada defending its interests. It's about redefining digital power in the 21st century. And if this framework succeeds, even partially, it could trigger a global chain reaction. Europe is already watching. Asia is watching. Emerging markets are watching, because what Canada may have just created is something far bigger than a law. It may be the first real replicable blueprint for digital sovereignty. And if multiple countries adopt this model, the age of frictionless global big tech expansion could come to an end. And so too. That means rising compliance costs, duplicated infrastructure, local licensing fees, data ownership battles, and a fragmented global internet shaped by national leverage. This is why investors are suddenly asking the much bigger question. What happens if this spreads? Because if it does, the cost of doing business for Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and the wider AI ecosystem doesn't merely rise. It multiplies exponentially. And those costs don't stay on balance sheets forever. They ripple into innovation. They ripple into pricing. They ripple into consumers, and they ripple into global political alliances. That's what makes this moment historic. For decades, the internet was treated as borderless. Now, borders are being redrawn in real time. And the most powerful part of Carney's strategy may be this. He has created a situation where every retaliatory move from Washington risks self-inflicted economic damage. Tariffs hurt American exporters. Cloud restrictions disrupt American firms operating in Canada. Even intelligence sharing threats carry national security blowback. That's strategic pressure at its highest level. Not force, not confrontation. And interdependence weaponized through policy. And this is why governments around the world are paying such close attention. Because this is not just a bilateral dispute. This is a test case for the next version of the global internet. A future where countries demand local control over data while still remaining plugged into global commerce. And not the American model, not the Chinese model, something in between. And if it works, it could become the defining geopolitical tech story of this decade. Right now, the world stands at a crossroads. One path leads to compliance and stabilization. Another leads to tariffs, retaliation, and escalating digital fragmentation. And the third, the most dangerous and fascinating of all, leads to a multipolar internet split into competing regulatory blocks. Different rules, different infrastructure, different AI standards, different data ownership systems. The efficiencies of the old global internet begin to erode. Costs rise, power shifts. Innovation moves in unexpected directions. And once that fragmentation begins, reversing it becomes incredibly difficult. That's why this story matters far beyond Canada and the United States. Because this isn't merely about tax law. This isn't just about trade. This is about Chiuki's Chiwi, who controls the next era of digital civilization. And the old internet model, borderless, centralized, and dominated by a handful of American giants, is now facing its most serious challenge yet. What replaces it is still uncertain. But one thing is crystal clear, that the rules are being rewritten in real time. And the governments, companies, and nations that adapt fastest may define the next generation of global power. So here's the real question. When data becomes the most valuable resource on Earth, who gets to own the future? If you enjoyed this deep dive breakdown on the digital power war reshaping the global internet, make sure you like this video, subscribe to BCC News, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next major geopolitical and economic shift before it hits the headlines. Because here on Hartsay Q Sang for your Dr. BCC News, we don't just cover the news. We break down the papper VHU and choose power behind the story, Jan Wernstand and theories and Dauer Intfree.